Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Security guard remains in hospital following an attack by gunmen in Manchester. St. Elizabeth student battles for life at hospital after he was attacked by another. And later in sports, Jamaican club booked semi-final spot in CONCACAF World Cup. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here are the details. We begin with news this afternoon. We begin this afternoon with a TVJ News follow-up. The Constitutional Court has ordered Amoy Leon-Issa to give police investigators access to her cell phone by 4 p.m. today as they probe the murder of her 9-year-old son, Gabriel King. The court dismissed a claim by Mrs. Leon-Issa seeking to squash a production order in relation to the phone on the basis that the search by the police would breach her right to privacy. Justice Lorna Shelley Williams, in delivering the judgment this morning, said the benefits gained from granting the production order far outweigh the breach of privacy of the claimant. Gabriel King was murdered along the Tuckermain Road in St. James on January 13, 2022. A security guard remains in hospital after a vehicle belonging to Atlas Security Company was attacked by gunmen in New Forest, Manchester. The incident happened sometime after 6 o'clock yesterday afternoon. It's reported that the security guards went to collect cash from various business establishments when gunmen opened fire on the unit. One of the guards was shot in the head while the other escaped injury. The gunmen sped away.
So far, they are saying that the cash was not taken, as one of the security guard on board managed to fire a shot at the attackers and they escaped. So they are now currently trying to find out why the persons responsible. It happened in an outskirts community, Alligator Pond area of the parish. And based on what the investigators are saying, that the vehicle it traveled from Trelawney, St. Elizabeth to Manchester. So they're also looking at the possibility that they may have been trailed to the location. So they are looking at a number of things at this time.
SSP Lindsay says the police continue to work with security companies as they seek to improve security measures when transporting cash.
I can't speak specifically to this particular company, but I know that based on happenings in the past, the members of the police force have met with persons in the security industry just to see how they can look at the systems that they have in place and to see how they can revamp them and make them more robust. Given what we can say now, we see as a trend where criminals are targeting the transporters of cash on behalf of the security companies.
An investigation is underway into the circumstances which led to the physical assault of a 7th grade student at the B.B. Cook High School in St. Elizabeth. A video of the incident shows a student from Upper Six attacking his victim with blows to the head. It's understood the child was rushed to hospital and is in critical condition. When contacted, the school was only prepared to say the matter is being investigated. And a teenager is dead after a motorcycle he was driving crashed along Manchester Avenue in Mapen, Clarendon last night. He has been identified as 18-year-old Niano Price of Mapen. According to reports, motorists saw the damaged motorcycle sometime after 9 o'clock. The police were called. Mr. Price was taken to hospital along with a pillion rider. He was pronounced dead on arrival. The pillion was treated for minor injuries. It is still not clear what caused the crash. The motorcycle was not licensed or insured. It was also without a headlight and mirrors. To news now in health, officials at the Linstead Hospital say they are putting systems in place to respond to the increase in dengue cases in St. Catherine. The details in this report. The Linstead Hospital in St. Catherine is reportedly seeing cases of the dengue virus. Since the Ministry of Health announced a dengue outbreak, the hospital has been operating on high alert.
We have identified, because the disease is in Jamaica, it is endemic and now we are having an outbreak. So we see patients with the condition from time to time and we treat them successfully to the point that we haven't had any deaths at Linstead Hospital. But we have seen an increase from the later part of the summer and coming on to this month. Yes, because we do not get the confirmatory result in our hospital because those samples are sent to National Public Health Lab in Kingston.
But the Type C health facility is trying to find ways to ensure it manages the cases.
We are sensitive in how to identify the signs and decide whose treatment needs to be escalated in hospital or could be treated as an outpatient in the regular community. With the support of the administrator and the administrative department, including our CEO, who you just met, we are getting the needed supply and also supported by the Ministry of Health. We are receiving our regular supply that will prevent further transmission of dengue.
The SMO is urging citizens to take the necessary steps to protect against the virus. Residents of two housing developments in St. Anne are calling on the authorities to address a long-standing sewage problem in the areas. The residents are concerned about the health risks. Karen Simpson tells us more.
For years, residents of Belair and Vista housing developments have been experiencing the same problem: sewage overflow due to an inactive sewer system.
This is a development that has started for quite a number of years now. Probably over 5 years persons have started building here, and it's a project from Housing Agency of Jamaica. And one of the challenges that we have been experiencing is the constant flow and overflow of sewage on the major road.
In addition to the sewer system, they are met with an unpleasant stench blanketing the communities.
I've been here for about 3 years now, and for about more than 2 years I've been battling with the stench from this sewage thing here. I can't open my door at night time or my windows. Everything has to lock up because the scent rises and it just take over the place. This just coming like you buy a little place in a hog pen, how it smells sometimes.
The residents are concerned their health is at risk.
We have students who walk, children coming from school, small children. They're exposed to the water in the drain. I'm praying and I'm hoping that something will be done immediately. This is not a cry for anything else but help from residents, people who want to preserve their health and the health of their children.
TVJ News learned that the sewage plant was commissioned to the National Water Commission. Our news team contacted Regional Manager Richard Williams, who confirmed that the agency has taken over operations of the facility and is working to get it operational as soon as possible. Karen Simpson, TVJ News.
It's time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. The Westmoreland Police have a newly installed wash stand for ATV motorbikes. Businessman Richard Wallace says it is necessary as it will now help to clean the bikes used by police officers who patrol the beach. This will also minimize the damage done to the bikes.
We figured that if the ATVs were able to be washed off properly after they come from off the beach, you know how corrosive the salt water is and the sand, and so it devastate the metal, all the metal parts on the vehicle. So we insisted on that.
These are very important tools that enable the police to be more effective whilst they conduct their duties. And so this particular wash station that was donated by Mr. Richard Wallace and all the other persons who assisted him, we find this to be a very good gesture.
It's now time for the Business Minute.
Jamaica's trade deficit stood at $2.25 billion for the first 5 months of the year. The Statistical Institute of Jamaica says as at May, the difference between what was spent on imports and the sum earned from exports was marginally lower than 2022. Total spending on imports for January to May this year was valued at $3.13 billion. This represents a 3.8% increase in the cost for goods coming into the country when compared with the $3.01 billion spent for the similar period in 2022. Meanwhile, Jamaica earned $879.5 million from exports for January to May. This was a 36.6% improvement above the $644 million earned for the corresponding 5-month period in 2022. New figures have shown that the UK's economy grew faster since the start of the COVID pandemic than initially thought. The latest figures from the Office of the National Statistics reveal that the UK's economy grew by 1.8% since the pandemic started, whereas the previous estimate was 0.2% contraction. They also showed that the economy grew by 0.3% in the first 3 months of this year, up from 0.1% previously estimated. The estimated for the April to June quarter was unchanged at 0.2%. And that's the Business Minute. I'm Raquel Porter.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, Bermuda's Premier David Burt says the government is slowly restoring operations after being hit by a very sophisticated cyber attack a week ago. He says an in-depth forensic audit is underway to determine how the attack occurred, and so far experts have not uncovered evidence that sensitive data was stolen. He declined to say whether it was a ransomware attack. On the international scene, at least 52 people have been killed and dozens injured in a suicide attack in Pakistan. The blast happened near a mosque in the southwestern province of Balochistan on Friday as people gathered to celebrate the birth of the Prophet Muhammad. Officials have declared a state of emergency. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack. And Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says his country is serious about building closer ties with India despite an ongoing diplomatic row. His latest remarks come at a time when ties between the two countries are at an all-time low. Tensions flared when Mr. Trudeau on September 19 said Canada was investigating credible allegations of India's involvement in the murder of a Sikh separatist leader. India dismissed the claim as absurd. And those are the top regional and international stories. I'm Carrie-Ann Simpson.
Thank you, Carrie-Ann. We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report with Jermaine Brown.